Terrific spot there in Prospect, and I saw the Chibo coffee shop just down the road. I didn't have any coffee before the show because last week I was struggling to put my words together. Joining me on the show still is Gary Topp, CEO of the Society of Auctioneers and Appraisers. Gary, we mentioned earlier there are a couple of changes to the Act coming up shortly. Would you like to give a précis on that?
Speaking about pine forests, one of the very big advantages, every person, quite often people look for a year. They go through 4 or 5, 7 or 8 open inspections a day, and the Act requires every person to be formally given, to the point it's law, a Form R3 buyer's guide. Fortunately, part of the reform is they'll have to be on display, they're available, but you don't have to physically give one to every person. So that's going to save thousands of trees in our forests in South Australia.
Hopefully it won't mess up the employment down Mount Gambier way.
Well, I certainly hope not, but there's that's to me one advantage. Another advantage as far as auctions goes, there's the A to M prescribed conditions under the Act. They need to be on display and referred to, but the auctioneer doesn't have to. Imagine auctioneers going out on the weekend like you obviously do. You auction 4 or 5 properties, you've got to spend 2 minutes in each one of those properties reading that A to M. So long as you refer to it, you've got it on display, copy for people if they want it, like the normal conditions of sale, you don't have to read them out every time, or tape record them, as I understand you do play the tape.
Yes.
And one other advantage too, you can extend a sales agency agreement rather than filling out a whole new one if you come to the end of 90 days and the property's still not sold and the vendor obviously still wants to sell. So there's a few changes. It won't impact very much on people out there transacting in real estate. It will just streamline it a little bit and probably make it less laborious.
Less onerous on perhaps the agents more so than the
most certainly.
than the
And people,
out
once
there.
they've got one R3, they only need one. They do not need one from every open they go to, every Saturday and every Sunday. So full marks to the government for streamlining it and just giving us a little bit less paperwork. I can imagine like land agents now, like solicitors, walking down the street with a suitcase on wheels with all the paperwork in there. But
well, that's about the size of it, isn't it?
We've embraced the Act. I think we work very well with it in South Australia. We all understand it well. And I believe OCBA are very, very happy with the way that the agents in South Australia have been conducting themselves under the current Act, and they're just making it perhaps a little bit easier for the public so that they don't have to go home with all this massive amount of paperwork.
I think fair to say also that the changes that were made a few years back have been for the benefit of both parties, buyers and, well, all three, buyers, sellers and agents. As you say, we've embraced it and work well with it. But I think it's been a common sense approach.
Oh, most certainly. Speaking of transparency, but everyone does talking about acts, I guess the auction process is the most transparent of anything. I've just thought of another benefit to auction we were discussing before, Tim Threadgold. I understand that at any time there's around 20,000 properties for sale on the market in Adelaide, and a lot of people say, look, I don't want to spend any money, just put it on the internet. But if there's 20,000 properties there, you just put it on the internet, it just sits there week after week, month after month, and quite often year after year. So in South Australia, in Victoria, they auctioned 35% of their properties. In South Australia, we only auction 13%, which means, what's that, 87% go to private treaty. Because so very few are auctioned, they stand out from the pack, and hence again, because so very few are auctioned, it gives you a far better chance of putting your property to the top of the buyer's list if it's auctioned because it stands out.
Compelling points. Compelling points. Now, what's happening at the Society at the moment? Have you got any great breaking news for us?
Right, the Society's very innovative with our Schools Auction Idol competition, where school students do a real estate auction, become part of a statewide competition. That's up and running very, very well. A student from St Peter's College won it this year. But our latest innovation, we like to be like Anthony TOOP and come up with all the latest in town. Anthony will be jealous, but we've just released this week our upcoming auctions app, where on your iPad or your iPhone, you can download from your app store, just search upcoming auctions. You can be driving around on a Saturday, because auctions are a very good gauge of how the market's going. So if you want to, for instance, find out what auctions TOOP and or Tim Threadgold's doing, you just you can search the upcoming auctions while you're out in the car by agent, auctioneer, property, I think that's about all.
That covers it pretty well.
And when you're out and about, and then you can go straight to the map, find where you're going. So that's our latest innovation at the moment. Anthony TOOP, you'll be proud of us.
Ah, well done. Gary, hey, thank you very much for coming in and joining us on TOOP TV. It's been great having you on.
Great being here. Thanks very much.
Good. Now we're going to go and have a look at some of our hot properties. Well, that's it for today's show. And don't forget our investment property seminar. It's free, it's at our Golden Grove offices. Make sure you come along. On next week's show, we'll have some beautiful properties coming onto the market. One in particular, SA's finest of the week on 3rd Avenue in St Peters. One you just won't want to miss. So we'll see you next week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. And now for some more of our hot properties.